Okay, so it's just after 1 o'clock Friday afternoon, and it's the 12th of July. So I'm going to share my screen and we'll have a look at Crossfire. Bear with me 1 second. Okay, so you should be able to see my trading view chart. I'm on Euro US dollar. I'm on the 15-minute chart, and you can see that I've got a green trend line randomly above where price is at the minute, and I've got a red trend line randomly below where price is at the minute. I'm looking at the 1 o'clock candle, and I'm waiting for that candle to close. So at 1:15, we'll come back to this and we'll position those two trend lines accurately and then drop down to the 2-minute chart. Now, I'm just going to have a look at a couple of things before I move on. And I was just doing this before I started the session. Basically, I'm zooming out a little bit just to get a bit of perspective on what's happening with this pair currently. So this is today's chart, this is yesterday's, this is Wednesdays, Tuesdays, and Mondays. So I'm going to just look back through the week and see what happened. You can see that at the start of Monday morning, price started down at this level, and it more or less went pretty much sideways for the full day. Tuesday, it went down slightly. Wednesday, it started to go up. And then Thursday, it went all the way up there. Then late Thursday afternoon, it came back down again. Today, it went sideways for this morning, and now it started to make its way back up again. Now, that will mean a number of possibilities exist. Price can either come back down to yesterday's point of control, or it could continue upwards to the edge of this shaded area, which is what I call my field of play. When it gets to that point there, it may well do what it did yesterday and return and start to come back down again. And then it could even go down to yesterday's POC. The other alternative is that there is another potential target up there, which is an outstanding POC from some time ago. So we need to keep an eye on what's going on and see if it tells us whether it's going to move upwards in that direction or whether it's going to come down towards this yesterday's POC. But that is something that I do every day. I look at what's been happening in the past, and I can see that we're actually heading upwards at the minute. Euro card, and I get that. Yeah, okay. So go back to Monday, and you can see that on Monday, more or less sideways. Tuesday downwards, Wednesday up and then down, and Thursday a massive increase, and today it's gone sideways, gone down a bit, and then it's gone back up, and it's now gone beyond that high from yesterday. So again, there's potential for it to go up to an outstanding POC from some time ago. But look how much price has increased since Thursday morning up to Friday lunchtime. GBP USD is pretty similar, I'm guessing. There was a huge increase. Just change my screen. Just bear with me 1 second. Don't know what happened then, but it decided to change my. I'll give it in a second. Well, we need to get back to sharing screen. And there we go. Okay, so GBP US dollar, you can see the massive increase from Thursday morning. So from Wednesday morning, it went up on Wednesday, it went up even further on Thursday, and then today it's gone beyond yesterday's high. The early days of the week, Monday, Tuesday, it was a different story. So Monday, Tuesday, nothing much going on. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, a huge increase in price there. And the fourth pair I'm going to be looking at this afternoon, similar situation, big increase, started Wednesday morning, continued Thursday, went up to that point and has surpassed that point. So I just like to look at what's been going on in the past few days and get it into context. I'm going to look at this afternoon's pairs. If I get a chance, I'm going to look back at this morning's crossfire activity. So it's now 8 minutes past 1. So what I always do before I do any trading at all is I look at the news. I can see on forexfactory.com that at 1:30, which is in 22 minutes time, we've got some US dollar red flag, red folder news items. There are two of them. There's also at 3 o'clock a red flag item and an orange flag item on the US dollar. So basically, when I'm trading crossfire, I work on the principle that price manipulation goes on when there's red flag news. So you have the genuine effect on the market of the news, and then you have the potential for the big boys to manipulate price and use the news to disguise that price manipulation. And so we can expect that will happen at 1:30 and or at 3 p.m. They normally move it in one big lump at either 1:30 or 3 p.m. But you never know. So one of the things I always say is I don't want to be in any trades when that news actually occurs. Some people do trade the news. I tend to avoid trading the news. So we've got 1:30 and 3 p.m. red flag news. And I just had a quick look before I came on at my FX Look economic calendar, and they've got red flag at 1:30 for the US dollar. They've also got red flag at 3 o'clock for the US dollar. So pretty much the same story there. So I'll be avoiding 1:30 and 3 p.m. We quite often do get trades after 3 p.m. on a Friday afternoon. And now we can go back to my chart, which should be, there we go. So basically, I'm going to have a quick look at a couple of pairs from this morning. There was a nice move on GBP AUD when my computer catches up. There we go. So GBP AUD, I'm on the 15-minute chart, so I need to look down and move down to the 2-minute chart. And then I'm going to make that a little bit bigger so that you can see it clearly. So this was this morning. I got a 2%. Well, I was working on risk reward of 1 to 2, so I was risking 1% to make 2%. And when I get this size free, so I'm putting on straightforward Forex, I'm putting on the clouds, and I'm putting on the water atta. And just need to make it a bit bigger so you can see what I'm talking about. So I started looking at 6 o'clock. I waited till the 6 o'clock 15-minute candle closed. So I was watching this from about 6:15. So there we are at 6:15. You can see that when I started watching it, there wasn't a lot going on. This was Yeah, that would be my first opportunity to get in when the 15-minute candle closed. Now, the first question I asked myself is price below the red trend line or is it above the green trend line? I can see that that candle was below the red trend line. However, the cloud was still red. Sorry, the cloud was still red, but the red line was making its way back to the green line. And so there was a chance that price might change direction at some point. And it did briefly at that point. But I wasn't going to get in whilst price was still moving sideways. And before when the red cloud was getting narrower and narrower, that is a dangerous time to get in. So my opportunity to get in, see, there was a potential opportunity there, but the water atta would keep me out because the black line below the red line, I needed to be above the red line. So my first opportunity came round about here on this candle here at 7:34, and that is because price not only went above the green trend line, admittedly it was still below the red trend line, but there was a big gap between the green and the red, so that was okay. But the black line, the 200 moving average, was in the way when we got that first wave up. So I waited until price got above and away from the 200, and I got in on the very next candle there. And the reason I got in was because the red moving average had moved above the green moving average. So we were into a green cloud. Now, the other thing that I should possibly have waited for was for the red and the green lines to both break through the 200 moving average. But apart from that, everything I've moved up out of the way. Don't know why it's happening. There we go. So normally I would try and wait until the red moving average and the green moving average broke past the 200 moving average. But if you look down at the water atta, the black line was definitely above the red line and pointing away from it. So I was encouraged to get in. I put my stop loss at 6.5, which was, I'm guessing, I've just moved that. I'm guessing it was actually on the green trend line originally. And I set my take profit up at that point there. And I always look left. I go up to the 15-minute chart, and I look left, and I try and find any reason for price to go up to that point. And I can see there, look. So this was this morning, and yesterday there was a lot of activity round about that point there. If I put on the imbalance, so if I'm looking at this as being my target, I'm looking left and I can see that there was some imbalance above where I was setting my target. So that was my target. There was imbalance above that. That imbalance there had been taken out, but this imbalance hadn't been taken out. So I was reasonably confident that price would go up, and sure enough, it did. I got my 2%. Had I stayed in, I could have got a lot more. Because it just continued going up. I could have got, well, that was near, well, I took my 2%. It would have gone up to a lot more than that. Now, we've just passed the 1:15 mark, so I need to get back to this afternoon's pairs. And I need to knock off these indicators. I'm going to take off the water atta. So I'm now left with a nice clean chart. I like to be able to see the beginning of today's session, which is this blue line. And I'm looking at this candle here, which is the 1 o'clock candle. And when I look at the top of the wick on that candle, I can see that that was the highest point price has been all day today. So I need to bring this trend line down. You can make it horizontal and then just drag it down so that it touches the top of the 1 o'clock wick. That is in position. Then I look at the bottom of the 1 o'clock candle and I look left and I can see that the very next candle was slightly lower. So I'm going to put the magnet tool on and drag this close to that candle, and it snaps into position automatically. And then I drag it so that it touches the bottom of the 1 o'clock. So that one is set up nicely. And do the same with the other 3 pairs. So I'm looking at this candle here, which is the 1 o'clock candle. I'm looking at the top of the candle, which is on that level there, and I can see that is slightly higher. So I just drag this down so it touches the 1 o'clock. Do the same at the bottom. I can see that the very next candle is slightly lower. And we need that red trend line to pass through to touch the 1 o'clock candle at the bottom, but in the center. There we go. So all of these pairs have been on the rise so far this morning. So that's the 1 o'clock candle. A bit of an indecision candle, isn't it? When I'm looking at the top of that candle, I'm looking left, and there's a higher. And then at the bottom of the 1 o'clock, looking left, I can see that is the nearest low. And the last pair, GBP card. That red one there is the 1 o'clock. So if I look at the top of the wick on the 1 o'clock and then look left, I can see that is the nearest higher. And I look at the bottom of the 1 o'clock. That's one there is slightly lower. Okay, so that's all 4 pairs marked up on the 15-minute chart. I need to take off the magnet tool. I need to drop down to the 2-minute chart, put on the straightforward Forex indicator, put on the clouds, and put on the water atta. If I just make this bigger, we can see that. So that's just after 1 o'clock. When we grew this, price was actually in between the green and the red trend line. Those 2 trend lines form a wedge. And when price is in that wedge, we don't take any trades. Now, the current candle has just opened slightly above the green trend line. So there is a gap between the candle and the trend line. So that's okay. I'm in a wave up. There's a wave up indicator. There's the green PSAR's pushing price up. Now, where are we in relation to the moving averages? There's the 200 moving average, the black line, and it's pointing upwards. It's quite a distance away from current price. We've also got the 62 moving average pointing upwards, and we've got the 13 moving average pointing upwards, and they're in the right sequence. So we've got the 13 above the 62, above the 200. So that's all looking good for a buy. However, the water ATA is going to keep me out because I want the black line to be above the red line, and then I want the histogram to be dark green and above the black line. So it's not quite ready yet. It's getting there, and prices continuing to move upwards, but I'm not going to jump in now. I've got the black line above the red line, and I've got a dark coloured, dark green histogram. I'm going to mark this as a potential entry point. I'm going to put on my long position indicator. I'm going to get in where price is now. I'm not actually getting in, I'm just going through the process. Now, where does my stop loss need to be? I've got two choices. I can put my stop loss on the green line, or I can put it on this green horizontal line, which is showing me the bottom of that engulfing candle. Now on GBP CAD, I need about 5 pips, so I'm going to put it on that green trend line. And then I'm going to mark my target. So I need that number there to be 2. It's slightly more, it's 2.01, but we're not going to worry about that. I'm going to mark that as my target. I'm going to go up to the 15-minute chart and I'm going to look left. Now I suspect there'll be nothing at that level in the recent past. So I've got nothing to base that decision on. So I'm not really going to be tempted to get into a buy on that unless I can find another reason why price might go up there. Let me just see my computer playing silly games. No, there are no outstanding POCs, so I'm not 100% confident about this, but I'm interested to see what goes on. Let me just go back to the 2-minute chart and just try and make some sense of this, if my computer will allow me. What's going on? I'm going to reset that chart and see if I can get it. So there we go. Now, when I was looking at where my target was, I wasn't really convinced that there was any reason for price to go all the way up there, other than the fact that price has been going up all day. So if we look back at the I remember we looked at what happened Wednesday, Thursday, and so far on Friday, it is definitely making its way upwards. So I would be reluctant to get in now because it's 4 minutes until the news. So I'm going to definitely wait until after the news. But I have marked this up in the way that I would mark it up before I took a trade. I have my doubts about the fact there's no outstanding imbalance, no equal highs, no other reason in the recent past for price to go any further or for it to go up to that blue line. So I'm not convinced, and because it's so close to the news, I'm going to just hang fire. I'm going to look at the other pairs. GBP has already sort of, it reached an equal high there. Can you see it went up to that point and then rejected? It got up to that point there, then it came back down. It got up to the same point, come back down again. I'm above the green trend line. I should be looking at buys, but price is actually coming down. We are in a wave up, but price is definitely coming down. Now, this is something that quite often happens just before the news. Um, if we're going to do some price manipulation at 130, using the news as a disguise, what they may well be doing right now is pushing price down and hoping that a lot of retail traders will get in for a sell, and they'll put their stop losses up here. And what might happen at 130 is that they push the price up there and take out everybody's stop losses. They might already have taken stop losses of people who were in for a buy. Once price started to go up, they might have got into a buy trade and put their stop losses down there, and they might well have just taken stop losses out. Now we've got 2 minutes left, so I've got time to look at some more pairs. Yeah, this is similar. They're moving price down. They were pushing price up. Now they're moving price down. They're trying to get people to be tempted in to either a buy or a sell. If you're getting in for a buy, you put your stop loss down here. If you're getting in for a sell, you put your stop loss up here. And we'll say they're pushing price down and getting those stop losses. And then if they decide to push it upwards, they'll get those people's stop losses. So I would make a point of not getting in at this time. I just want to sit back and see what's happening. Now, Euro US. We're still in no man's land, or we were. We've just come out below the red trend line. But can you see how price came down and then it tried to start going back up again? There's a long wick, both top and bottom. That's an indecision candle. And we're 1 minute away from the news. We're actually 10 seconds away from the news. So let's just see what happens. Do they push it down? In which case they might go stop at this 200. Or do they? There we go. They're pushing it down. Pushing it a long way down. So price went down there and then went back up again. There's every chance that price will quickly go back up and take out stop losses of people who were in for a sell. So if there were stop losses and there would have been stop losses below that line there, it would have taken those stop losses out. They'll be eyeing up the stop losses above here, and when they're ready, they might well push price up and take out those stop losses. So I'm just going to go back through the pairs. Similar situation there. Massive drop. We're just going to measure that drop. So that candle which opened there, no, it's not a massive drop, it's only 10 pips. Very deceptive, look a lot more. So we've been down there, they've come back to the 200 moving average, taken out any stop losses that were set below that price. Now price is going up. They're all pretty much the same, aren't they? Yeah. Well, I did mark that up, but I did say I wasn't going to get in that one. We were too close to the news, and there were no obvious reasons why price would go up there. They've all gone down to retest that 200 moving average, and then they've rejected pretty quickly. I mean, that price moved down pretty sharp, and then it immediately went back up to where it started, and is now trying to get above the green trend line. So 2 minutes have elapsed since the news, almost 3 minutes. We just need to wait. I'm going to go back through the pairs. Okay, so Euro US, being down, taking out stop losses. Now, are they going to push it up and take out stop losses up here? Got a news icon there reminding me that at 3 o'clock there's further US dollar news, high impact news. Euro card. Yeah, price was pushed all the way down there. Now they're pushing price back up again. It's that's the 130 candle. It went up initially, and then it went all the way down, and then it started to go back up again now. I would expect price to come up to these sort of levels so that any stop losses that have been placed there for a sell will be taken out. There's an outstanding POC up there. So if they do start to move price up above the green trend line and up above that point, which is a previous high, which is also a break of structure, if price gets above that point, I can imagine that price may well go up to take out that POC. Let's have a look at the British pound pairs. Yeah, they're all behaving very similarly. They've looked it way down there, and now they're going back up. They're getting above the green trend line. When it gets a little bit further up, that red piece will flip down to the bottom, and it'll start to. I think of it as pushing price upwards once the piece flips to the bottom. But there is a break of structure there, so I would want price to get above that. Okay, so that's the same. It's gone above the green trend line, also gone above the red trend line, so that's out of the way. I would need price to get beyond that point there before I'm interested in getting in. I wouldn't just jump in because I want this water atta to be the black line pointing away from the red line, and I want the histogram to be above the black line. The other thing I've just noticed is there is a green piece way down here. So the red PSARs were pushing price down. This green PSAR is not only below the candle, it's way below the candle. So the momentum for upward movement is there. I want price to get above that before I get in. I am close to the news, but I suspect that price might continue up. Now it's just taken out that breaker structure line. The water atta is good. We've got the black line pointing away from the red line. We've got the dark green histogram. So once the candle gets above that line, at the minute the wick is above the line, but the candle needs to be above the line. Now the only other thing is I need a way up indicator. I'm going to get it at the end when this candle closes. So we're like 15, 16 seconds away from the candle closing. We need to wait until that next candle opens. So I'm going to mark that for now. Okay, so the new candle is just opened. I'm going to just mark this up. I need to decide where my stop loss is going to be. Well, it needs to be down at that green line, which would give me 6.7 stop loss. It's also going to mean that for me to get my 1 to 2, it's going to have to break past that outstanding PLC. So that's going to be my target. I'm just walking you through my thought process. I'm going to go up to the 15-minute chart and I'm going to look left. And once again, I suspect there's nothing in the recent past that will give me confidence to get in for a buy. So I'm going to need to look for additional factors, see if I can find any outstanding buys. I'm going to go I'll go to the 1 hour chart and maybe get some more data. Yeah, so price has been higher. So there's my target, and price has been much higher. So yeah, I've got confidence. I'm going to be really difficult to see. I'm going to take a couple of things off here. I'm going to take off the session breaks for now. And if I'm looking, I'm going to put on the imbalance indicator and just see if we can see any obvious. So we're aiming for that blue dashed line, and there's some equal highs. I don't know why my computer won't just stay in the one position, but anyway, I'm going to put on the imbalance. Yeah, it's difficult to see. But anyway, the price has been up there. There is imbalance up here. So this target is reasonable. Just try and go back to today. There we go. I'm going to go back to a 2-minute chart and reset. Right, so had I got in that trade, I would have been taken out because price has just been back down below my green trend line. So my stop loss would have been at that point where the green trend line was, and I would have been taken out on that one. So I'm going to go back through the pairs, and take off that imbalance. So Euro US price has come down and below the 200. It's now hovering round about the 200. We're in a wave down, but we've got green PSRs. So contradictory evidence there. And the water atta isn't, the black line isn't pointing away from the red line, it's actually running in parallel. So that's telling me keep out for the time being. Not having gone all the way down there and potentially taken me out of the trade, it's now decided to go up. The water atta is strong, whereby we're in a wave up. We've got green PSARs with 200, 62, 13, all pointing upwards. So I'm just trying to see if I could have avoided that by waiting a little bit longer. Yeah, if I'd got in, I would have put my stop loss further down if I'd waited a bit longer. But there was no indication because we were in a wave up. We did have green PSARs. We had the 200, the 62, and the 13 all in the correct sequence. The lower moving averages were already above the 200. So that was one of the situations where everything was telling me I should be getting in for a buy, and then it just pushed price down. But look where price is going now. We've got on this candle here, the candle before I got in, we had a wave up. So that meant that these green wave blocks, they changed from red to green. So that was another indication that we were good to get in for a buy. Had I waited and got in on that candle, I would still have been in. But there we go. Euro US. Just have a look through all the pairs, and I'm going to tell you how I'm going to manage this situation this afternoon. So Euro US price is bouncing between the 200 and the red trend line. There's nothing to tempt me in there. The water atta is keeping me out. Euro card, we've just looked at that, but we'll catch it again. Come back to that one. GBP USD. Similar situation to Euro USD. We've got price bouncing between the 200 and the red trend line, just going up and down. Can't quite make its mind up. The water atta would keep me out. And GBP card. So the Canadian dollar pairs are all heading upwards. The US dollar pairs are still undecided. This is heading, it would have taken me out because this was just before the news. So that there was no way I was going to get in there. If I was tempted to get back in, it would have been possibly on that candle. We just had the right setup on the water atta. This would have been a better candle to get in. Yeah. So the lesson there is just be patient and wait. That I definitely wouldn't have got in on before 130, and then looking after 130, it starts to look reasonable there. It looks much better on that candle. So I'm just going to mark that. That is a more realistic entry candle. And we just need to see, obviously, because we would be moving, well, we probably would have got in around halfway through that candle. So that's about the right entry. but you'll see that line still represents a 2%, and that vertical line represents a sensible entry. That was never an entry. That was before the news. GBP USD still can't make its mind up. It's going to hit the red trend line and the green trend line. It's also going to hit that break of structure indicator. So I'm going to go back through the pairs and just tell you what I'm going to do this afternoon. On Euro US, for me to get in for a buy, because we're in a wave up and we've got green PSARs, for me to get into a buy, I would want price to get above the green trend line, because that's the first rule in crossfire. So I need price to get above that trend line. I can do this with a parallel channel. So I need price to get above that line there for me to get in for a buy. And if I was going to get in for a sell, well, below the red trend line is one point, but then you've got the 200 moving average. So realistically, I'm going to need price to get below the 200 moving average for me to be tempted to get in. If I put an alarm alert on these two, well, on this channel, I'll get an alert when price is above the green trend line or below the black moving average, and then I'll come back and reanalyze. I'll be looking for this black line to be pointing away from the red line, and I'll be looking for the histogram to be above the black line, whichever color it is. It needs to be dark green or dark red. So that's my plan. I just need to put an alert on this. So I'll click on that line there. Ask for an alert when it exits the channel. Once per bar, create, and then you'll see a little alarm clock icon just appeared there, just to confirm that I've got that alert on. And I'll get that alert on my phone and then come back to this screen and reanalyze. So that's one of the four pairs sorted. I would go with where are we? If assuming that I didn't get in on that candle, because that would have taken me out. This candle, I could have got in, and therefore I've got my 1 to 2. So I'm thinking that this is going to continue going up. I cannot see any well, price could come down and come and test the 200 moving average, but I'm in a wave up. I've got green PSARs. I'm above the 200. I've got the 62 pointing upwards, and I've got the 13 pointing upwards. So everything in that area is telling me I'm good to get in for a buy, and this is also telling me I'm good to get in for a buy. So I'm going to go with a buy on this one. Not going to get in now because I've waited a little bit too long. But I'm thinking that a buy, once we get a green candle, might be tempted to get in. The buyers are just sort of stepping down a little bit, but when the histogram gets above the black line and remains or goes to dark green instead of pale green, we might be looking at a buying opportunity. So I'm favouring a buy on that one. We're coming up to this outstanding point of control. It just about made it on that candle there. So there's a possibility that it might just wick that out and then decide to come back down again. this is keeping me out down at the bottom here. I want a bit more movement. We've got an indecision candle on that one. This one's looking well. We've got a bullish engulfing candle there. So let's just see if it gets above or if it um, bounces off that outstanding POC. If price comes down, it's likely to bounce off that 200 moving average. If it breaks past it and past that red dashed line, it might well come down to yesterday's POC. But at the minute, it can't make its mind up. So the Euro US was looking, yeah, still needs to break past that green trend line before I will be getting in for a buy. The black line is more or less moving sideways. It needs to point upwards away from the red dead zone. So a little bit more upward movement, and I might be interested in a buy. Euro can, I'm just sort of holding back. It doesn't seem to be able to break past that outstanding PLC. It may be if I look backwards to the left, I might see that outstanding PLC has already been taken out. It's from way back, and it may be that line was slightly misplaced. So it may have gone to the actual POC and then rejected off it. Here we go. We're going to break it through. We're going to break through it now. There we go. So it's definitely been taken out now. What it is telling me I could get in. Everything else up there is telling me I could get in. So I'm going to mark that. That's a potential entry point. I would need to increase my target accordingly. Look at GBP USD. Now we've come well above the green trend line. There is a gap between the candle and the trend line. So we're looking at buying opportunities. We're in a wave up. We've got green PSARs pushing price up. We're above the 200, which is pointing upwards. We've got the green line, which is a 62 moving average, and the red line, which is a 13 moving average, both in the right sequence. So we've got red, green, black. That's the sequence I like. Getting in for a buy. We've got green wave blocks getting bigger. And so this is looking like it might be going for a buy as well. I just want this to be a dark green histogram above the black line. Then I'll certainly consider getting in. The British pound is really strong. Okay, so that was a 130 canvas. No, sorry, that was a 1340. No, it's not. No, it's not. Let me just. That's a 1342. So that candle there was 1322, 1324, 26, 28. So that was the news candle. I would have had to wait for price to get above that green trend line. So I may well have got in there. This would have been a better entry, but that target would have been achieved, and it looks as if even if I'd waited for this candle and got in halfway through, it's still more or less the same entry point, isn't it? And that's a 1 to 2 on that candle there. So that would have been a successful trade had I got in at 1342. Right, so I'm quickly going to go through them, see if I can spot anything else, and I'm going to call it a day. This still hasn't made its mind up to get out of the channel, so I'm waiting for an alert on that one. Um, I'm still expecting this one to go north. The buyers are sort of stepping back a little bit, but we're in a wave up. We've got green PSARs, we've got the sequence right on the moving averages for black, green, red. We've got green wave blocks consistent in size. We've got a bullish engulfing candle there. We're just in a little bit of a pullback. So this would keep me out of there. Let's imagine I got in at that point there. Well, this one was, yeah, that was my entry, wasn't it? It didn't go down, so I've got to stick with that one as an entry point, and that was my target. If I was thinking about getting in the future, I would want this green histogram to be above the black explosion line. Right, well, I wouldn't get in that. We've gone above the green trend line, so I'm thinking buys. We've got a wave up and we've got green PSAR, but prices just moving sideways, and these are definitely indecision candles. I want a strong move up, so I can put a channel on this. I can get a channel. I can say, right, I want price to be above above that high there. I want it to be up there. If I'm getting in for a buy, if I'm getting in for a sell, first of all, it's got to be below the red trend line, but there's not a lot of space before it then hits that breakout structure, and not a lot before it hits it. So potentially it could bounce off the breakout structure or bounce off the 200 moving average. So I'm going to wait until it either gets above that point, and in which case I analyze it for a buy, or gets below that point, in which case I start analyzing for a sell. At the minute, the water atta is shaping up for a buy, but it's not quite there yet. So if I click on that line and ask it to send me an alert when price exits the channel once per bar, and there's your little icon to tell you the alert's working, and the alert's in place. So it's getting close to where I want it to be to get in for a buy. If I get the alert whilst I'm still on this session, I'll come back, because that histogram is now very slightly above the black line, so it's shaping up for a buy. I'll just have a look at GBP CAD. Yeah, so that would have gone up to my 2%. It is trying to get a little bit higher, but the buyers are just sort of stepping back a little bit. But the momentum does seem to be upwards, although the PSARs were quite a distance away from price, so they're getting closer to price. So perhaps the momentum is waning on that pair. The GBP USD, that'd be interesting to see if that one's, you know, if we get a candle open above my channel, I'll come down here and check the water atta. But we're in a wave up, we've got green PSARs. Okay, so it's 2 minutes past 2. I've got 2 channels, and the others I'm just sort of hesitating. GBP USD looks like a potential buy. Euro USD. This is discouraging because the black line is now definitely pointing downwards. And we're just moving sideways. So maybe not, don't know. I'll wait for an alert. It might just break up above or break out above my green trend line, but I'm going to wait for that. And the Canadian dollar pairs, that one's still making progress towards my target. And the last one has already gone past my target. So the two out of the four where we could have got a trade, and the other two we're just waiting for an alert. Euro US. Just moving sideways. Now, don't forget that there is some more red flag news at 3 o'clock. So it's possible that this price will just keep moving sideways until 3. Then you might get a big movement. So you need to be aware that, well, in my eyes, I wouldn't want to be in a trade at 3 o'clock. I want to be either in and out of a trade before 3 o'clock, or I want to wait until after 3 o'clock. But this isn't shaping up nicely. This isn't in my favour. So Euro US is less of a possibility than this one. I think this one, it's got to the edge of my channel and then come back a bit. Still in a wave up, still got green free sides, but they are getting closer to the price. We've got 200, 62, 13, all in the right sequence and pointing upwards. We've got wave blocks. They're getting slightly smaller, these wave blocks. So maybe there's a resistance point round about there. So it's 2:05. I'm going to call it a day. So thanks for jumping on, and I shall be back on Tuesday. Bye now.